Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be showing how I top up my balayage at home. So this is definitely not like a full balayage tutorial. I'm not going to be putting any more blonde through the ends of my hair, and I'm not going to be going through every single section. This is pretty much just for like in between appointments if you want to put some blonde in your hair but you're not quite sure how. This is like the tip of all tips. This is the easiest way ever, and you would struggle, I think, to mess this up. This isn't like a highlights tutorial where you're gonna leave looking like super blonde. This is definitely a dimensional, lived-in balayage that's gonna grow out really softly, and it's just gonna tide you over a little bit. But yeah, basically the only sections of my hair that I'm gonna be dyeing today are my parting, and then like just a tiny bit of the crown so that when it sits back it looks all uniform. So what you're going to need first of all is some foils. You're also going to need your bleach, your peroxide. I've got two peroxides, so I've got 20 vol and 30 vol, and I'm going to be using them for different things. Then I've got my toners for after I've bleached my hair. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the tones and everything like that because I'm actually going to do a full video where I like break down colour theory as I learnt it. You know, it is a bit different brand to brand, but basically the gist of this is I've got an ash blonde toner, an ash dark blonde toner, and then an ash light brown almost blonde toner. Then you're going to need just like a pot and a brush, whatever brush you use. My ones are called Pro Tip brushes, and I just think that they're the best ones. They're just like, they're quite sturdy. I don't like it when you're using a brush and it's like just really floppy, because I don't feel like you can push the product into your hair enough. I like to have a bit of like oomph, you know, just in case I need it. To be honest, I won't actually need it for what I'm doing today. I'm not going to need, because I'm not balayaging the ends of my hair, which is where you really want to get like the colour in. I'm just doing my roots. I'm not going to really need to, but it's just a good brush. So if you wanted to buy a brush, I'd recommend that one. Then I've also got my Olaplex. Okay, and then getting into the actual process. Oh yeah, also you're going to need a pintail comb and just some clips. I'm just going to go for it. So I'm going to pull my hair back, and that really helps me to see the angle that I'm going for. And then I'm going to take a really fine section. This will be the most fiddly part of the whole thing. The rest of it is quite easy. So that's the first step. I've got this little section, and you can see like I'm kind of exaggerating that angle backwards. The end of this is slightly thicker than the start, and that's just because I'm pivoting. So that's going to be the case the whole time. Now I'm going to take my foil, get my foil nice and close to the root, and I'm going to paint this bleach on as close to the root as I can, and then be really careful not to overlap as much as possible. So I take my foil and I wrap it around my pintail comb. Like this, which just makes it really easy for me to get it nice and tight. And then once I've got the foil in place, I pull the hair down nice and tight, and then I'm going to hold the foil in place with this hand here, and then I can remove the comb, and then I go in with the bleach and I paint the bleach on where I want it. And once the bleach is on, because it's wet, the hair will just stick to the foil by itself. And then I am going to fold that up. I like to always fold it twice. So I fold it once, and then the second time I'm going to use the pintail comb to help me. I think I've just smudged all my mascara, just a pre-warning. Bit higher. And then the helpful thing about the way that I've folded the foil, some people fold the foil inwards like this. That's crooked. And then they bleach, they put the hair here and they fold this part. I like to fold it backwards and put it in, because then I've got this flap here. which just means that now I can make sure that that foil is all the way at the root, and I can kind of refold my foil, and it just helps if the foil has slipped out at all, you can kind of just like retighten it. And then I'm going to fold that in on itself like that. And then that's the first foil complete. And you might have noticed that before I folded the foil up, I got the hair from the ends and I pushed it to the side, so that when I folded it up, I wasn't folding my previously bleached ends onto my bleached roots. I was moving them out of the way, folding it up, and then folding it up again. That's what you want to do. You don't want to fold it onto itself, because then you'll just bleach it too much. And then I'm just going to take one section back, so pivoting from the parting again, and still going really, really thin. The thicker the section is that you take, the more warmth you're going to have. Taking a nice thin section, that's too thick. Taking a nice thin section is going to give you the cleanest blonde. And then I'm just going to repeat that again, exact same process. And now in this foil, I'm not necessarily taking it all the way back there. I'm kind of almost like feathering it a little bit there. It doesn't matter if it does go, it basically doesn't really matter, but I just think it looks a little bit softer. Right, so then that's going to be it for my money pieces. And then I'm just going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Okay, so just for some like reference of time, it is now, oh my god, these hairs look so crazy. I've been filming now for half an hour, but I only started applying the actual colour 10 minutes ago. So that doesn't include like the time that I spent mixing up the colour or ripping the foils, but just in terms of like actually putting it in my hair, this has only taken me 10 minutes, and this is by far the longest part of the whole process. So now I'm just going to move on to the next section. So what you want to do before you start this is you want to decide where your hair kind of starts to go backwards. And it's not always at the crown of your head. Like my crown is quite like here, I'd say. My hair starts to sit backwards about here-ish. So I need to think about where my hair actually falls day to day when I'm thinking about where I'm going to bleach it. So I know that my hair falls backwards about here. So I'm just going to take that hair and section it back so that I don't accidentally get confused and treat it like it's part of the sides of my head. Like that needs to definitely be a separate section at the back of my head. And now I'm going to mix up some more bleach, and I'm going to go in with 30 Vol. More Olaplex, or whatever treatment you have. We're quite heavy with the Olaplex for this section. And then I'm going to go with my 30 Vol, which if your hair's quite blonde already, don't do it. Like I need to do it because my hair's so dark. I don't want to do it. Ideally, I don't ever want to use 30 Vol on my head, but if your hair can handle 30 Vol, do it. If you don't think your hair can handle it, don't do it. Or if your hair's already blonde, then it's just pointless and you don't need to, then don't. Just add some of that. Now when you're painting freehand, you don't want the consistency of your bleach to be too thin, because if it's too like watery and runny, it won't stay exactly where you put it. It will kind of like disperse out and it will sink through the layers of your hair because it's wet. If it's slightly thicker, it kind of just sits more on the surface. So you don't want it to be too thick either. because if it's too thick, it's really, really unforgiving. Like exactly where you put it is the only place that's going to have a mark. And if there's like a lump somewhere that's unblended, you'll really, really be able to see that. Whereas if it's slightly more runny, you can kind of like spread it. It's just a little bit easier. It's a little bit more forgiving. So you definitely want this to be like a medium thickness. Also, the thing with it being too thick as well is that it dries out really quickly. And this isn't going in a folded foil, so it is going to dry quicker. I think just like something like that, kind of like in the middle, is a good viscosity. Is that the right word? And then now, so this is my section. So now this is the hair that I've got left that I'm working with, because I've separated that and this is obviously bleached. So I'm going to split that in half quite roughly. And then my first section is going to be here. And I'm just going to take quite a small triangle. Like I don't want it to be too deep or anything crazy like that. I just want it to be kind of like there. And then so that's about the size. The idea is that these parts won't get any dark on them, but this part will. So then it's just going to give you nice highs and lows. You could backcomb that a little bit if you wanted it to be a bit more diffused. Actually, I will, maybe a little bit. Soften the blend slightly. Just make sure that you don't get any bleach on that back comb. And now, you want to work with the flat side of your brush, so you don't want to come in like that because it's going to push too deeply through the hair. You just want to go like this and kind of just like paint the surface. And pay attention to that high point there at the one edge of your triangle. And then another high point here at this edge of your triangle. And you can kind of blend the middle in a little bit. It's all good. This high point here is really going to like tie in nicely with your face frame as well, so that it's not like a sudden dark patch right behind your face frame. And that's literally it. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to take the next section here. I'm just going to give myself a little triangle. And that's it. And I know that that looks kind of like messy and like what's happening there, but just trust it. Like just trust that the right thing is happening. I'm not going to put any foil on there until I finish the other side because it's going to get confusing. But then yeah, I just do exactly the same thing again. And now I'm left with something that looks like this. And you might be thinking that it looks like a bit of a solid chunk, but honestly, taking the triangles underneath, I feel like a broken record, like I keep repeating that, but it does just make such a big difference because the tone of the blonde is just going to be all different, and when it dries and it separates, it will just naturally separate into these cute little ribbons, and it will just look really, really effortless and nice. And now the back section. The back section is really hard, I'm not going to lie. All I'm going to do for the back section is same thing again, but I'm going to use my fingers. I'm just going to take a triangle like this. I'm going to brush it. Back comb it. And then again, on the flat part of my comb, of my brush, I'm just basically gonna take one high point here, one high point here, and then I'm just gonna blend in the middle. And that is literally it. And then I'll just push that backwards. That took me 7 minutes. So total so far, that's like 70 minutes for application. And now I'm just gonna take one big foil over the top. Also just put one foil down the back, and it will basically just stick to the wet bleach. So you don't need to do too much work, but that's actually it. And I swear to God, this is like the easiest thing, like 50 minutes, bish bash bosh. If I wasn't talking through it and explaining everything that I was doing, it would probably be quicker. Like, it's just a really quick and easy touch up. But yeah, so I'll be back now in about 20 minutes. The bleach can stay on for up to 50 minutes to an hour. But I just don't think it's going to need that much. I don't know, I'm just going to come back. I'll keep looking at it basically, and once it starts looking light, then I'll be ready to wash it off. Okay, so just for a point of reference, it's been about 15 minutes, and I'll just show you what kind of colour it is now. So you can see that it's definitely lifting, but it's still kind of just like a bit of a light brown. I'm not sure how well you can see that. Just put my little hat back on. So yeah, that's definitely going to need like another 10 minutes, and then I'll be back. Okay, so this is where we're at now. You can see that that's considerably lighter. And that's basically it. Like that's as light as we're going to get that. Yeah, that's it. The foils at the front will probably be really light. I haven't even checked because I just believe in them. Yep. Okay, perfecto. And then I'm just going to go downstairs now and wash my hair and tone it. I'm going to do that all downstairs. I'm going to go in with a 7 on my roots because this isn't going to be, it's not that light. It's going to be quite warm. So that's why I'm toning it with a 7, because I need to tone it quite dark to make it look at all ashy. So I'm going to tone that with a 7, and then my front pieces I'm going to tone with a 9. And I don't think I'm going to use the 8. I think I'm just going to go in with the light brown ash and the blonde ash, and that's going to be it. I'll probably start with the light brown and put that there, and then I'll do this last. And then yeah, I'll show you what it looks like at the end. Yeah, so this is me now with my hair washed and blow dried. My blow dry has gone really fluffy today, not sure why, but you can see that this just kind of gives you a nice touch up. It's definitely by no means going to give you that like blonde feeling, like when you've just had a full head of highlights and you're like, yes, I'm blonde again. But it does just kind of make your hair look presentable in between hair appointments, and it doesn't take long at all, and it doesn't really require much skill. Like, you could mess it up if you just went in with like way too much bleach at the top and gave yourself like a big patch or something. Like, there are ways of course that it could go wrong, but it is a pretty safe bargain if you're just taking your little triangles, not too deep, and just painting it on really lightly. And the foils again are a little bit fiddly and they might take a little bit of getting used to, but you can always practice first of all, just with conditioner. And if you put a little bit of flour like in your conditioner, if you can be bothered to really try this, which I would recommend, just like try one foil. If you just put a bit of flour and conditioner in a bowl, it kind of thickens up to the consistency of bleach, and then the tin foil will actually stick, because if you just use conditioner it might just slip out, and it'll actually be a lot harder than the bleach is because the bleach is quite thick. So that would be my recommendation. And yeah, I think you'll agree, my hair just looks like, it just looks fine again. Like, it's not mind-blowing, you know, it's not like, oh my god, her hair looks fantastic, but it's definitely just kind of like doesn't look like I have roots anymore, which is the goal. And And yeah, I'm happy with the colour at the ends. It probably looks pretty similar, to be honest. I don't even know if my ends really needed to be toned, but I did anyway. But yeah, that's just my little at-home root balayage. No, sorry, my at-home balayage root touch-up. Because I wouldn't really obviously call this a balayage. It's not a balayage, it's literally a root touch-up. But I just think it falls so nicely. Like when it separates like this, and you can see the dark coming through, and then there's the light sitting on top. I just really like that effect. And it also grows out so softly because you've already got the black, sorry, not the black, the dark with the light. When the dark roots start to come through, the light parts, it just works. But yeah, hopefully this will save you like literally hundreds of pounds if you can nail this, because you will not need to go back to the salon like nearly as often if you can just do this. Yeah, no? And then if I were to put my hair on like a side parting, for example, which I never personally do, but like you would then start to see that root again. So it's not 10 out of 10, but I very rarely do that. And if I do, I quite often will just do my fringe anyway. So I'll keep my hair in the middle parting, and then I just kind of like flop over my fringe, but my hair's still kind of like this. And yeah, hope that you found it helpful. I will list all of the products that I use down below. A lot of them are professional, so I'm not sure if you'd be able to get them if you're not a professional, but I'll link them down below anyway. And yeah, if you found this video helpful, please do give it a like, or if you've got any questions, leave me a comment down below and I'll definitely get back to you. And if you're interested in seeing more hair related content, I also post a lot more stuff on my TikTok and my Instagram, so check that out. But yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.